Hello, my name is Finlay Smithies, and this is my making of film for the Making and Exploration module. At the start of the module, we were told to bring a few items into class, so I brought an apple, a vape, and a strip of fake grass. We were told to create transitions between these items in 16 frames. This was a challenge because many of my items were vastly different in shape and size, so I had to use perspective and camera work to make the transition between the objects possible. I made this storyboard of 16 frames and then shot it on Stop Motion Studio app on my phone. This is the outcome. We also learned about various stop motion techniques, including replacement technique, transition, and the method of making a character jumping into or emerging from water, made possible by slicing away the clay or other soft material model. The theme of this first project is metamorphosis, which can have so many meanings, which we explored together as a class, and I came up with two possible ideas as to where to go with the outcome. My first idea was of a horseshoe crab that is reluctant to change, even when all his friends are evolving around him. But then he finds this group of creatures that also doesn't want to evolve, so they all become friends and don't ever change over hundreds of millions of years. I also had another idea and talked to Chris about it, and she responded well to it, so I went for it. To make this test, I used replacement with many of the body parts, as you can see, and also just moving the clay model as I wanted. I thought it was a fun concept to have my own hands involved in the test also. It's a body horror transformation of clay. In my first test of this, I used an eraser and had it transform into a humanoid figure, a transformation forced upon the subject by the creator. An object that has life dropped into it and then is stretched and pulled and cut into form. A painful transition that leaves the subject traumatized apparently. I think the test went well, and it helped me decide on how I would make my final film. Here are some of the other tests I made. As a group, me and some other students did a different test involving my Bob Ross keychain, but I couldn't find it. I had an issue with drag and frame in my OneDrive. When I saved tests as an MP4, some of them didn't actually save. This is a stop motion test where I tried to make this mouse have motion blur, zooming to get some cake and then zooming away. It was successful, but I only have this low quality sped up version that I had to put together on Premiere. It's just made from the thumbnails, which were the only thing I had left of the film. I came up with the final idea for my film on the trip to the museum with life drawing class. In the museum, there's a vivarium full of little tree frogs. They're tricky subjects to draw because they dart about so fast, but they made for good practice. Also, their simple silhouette was very fun to sketch. Seeing the little frogs gave me the idea to make a body horror transformation from humanoid to frog. I looked at some examples of these types of transformations in media and made mood boards of them. Films like American Werewolf in London and art from the likes of Junji Ito, etc. I then made my own concept art, a storyboard of my movie, and a little frog jump cycle, which I used to make my frog jump in clay. These are some photos my girlfriend took of me making the replacement pieces and models for my final stop motion piece. It was a little bit rushed, and also I didn't think to make the models out of wire, which was definitely a mistake. As you can see in the film, it's practically fallen apart by the end. But next time I would definitely make a skeleton for my puppet. Here's some footage of me making the film in a Chatham Building stop motion bay, as by this point in the year, in the run up to Christmas, all the soda bays were fully booked up. The humanoid creature in my film is something of a mimic. It tries to replicate the things it sees. It exists in this dark void, but I thought the film would be most creepy that way. The subject doesn't make sounds of pain like a human, and that's because it's not a human. It's a pure limitation. Not only because that's how I wanted it, but my level of capability as an animator only allows me to create imitations of life that are just an attempt at replicating the real thing. I find my creation very relatable. I used motion blur in the POV shot of the hand, and replacement techniques for the hand, the head, and the neck when it inflates rapidly, like a frog's when it expands its vocal sac to croak. I also used red food colouring for the blood. The film took about 4 hours to shoot, and I had a lot of fun making it. Here's the end result.